Yow Insider Terry McCormick joining you for another Tennessee Pro Football Podcast Drive to the Draft. We're brought to you by Fast Stop Markets. Check out Fast Stop Markets in Centerville, Dixon, White Bluff, Spring Hill, and now 4 locations in Muletown. That's Columbia. Owners meetings underway here as we inch closer and closer to the NFL draft, giving the Titans a little bit more deliberation maybe with that number 1 overall pick. But as we draw closer to draft day, Terry, it seems as though the Titans may already have their mind made up.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to one of two things. Either they draft Cam Ward at number 1 overall with that pick, or they trade the pick to somebody who, gives them more than they could ever imagine for it. And that team drafts Cam Ward, and then they select probably from either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. So that seems to be kind of where it's at.
Did you guys see the Bleacher Report trade offer?
I don't think I've seen this.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, man. So Titans give up the number 1 overall pick. They get the 2026 number 1. They get a 2025 number 1, and they get a quarterback. Oh, and a third-round pick for this year. And that would be from the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson.
Oh, boy.
I like
and they get the 15th pick
I like 3 of those things that they're getting. I like the third-round pick. I like the 2 number 1 picks. They can keep Anthony Richardson.
I'm not sure we have enough time in the show today to break down why the Titans would not be a good fit for Anthony Richardson. We've got plenty to break down today, though. On the other side of this break, we'll run you through some other free agent signings the Titans have gone through and talk a little bit more about that number 1 overall selection that's drawing nearer and nearer to draft day. You're watching the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast, Main Street Media Television.
With multiple locations across Tennessee, family-owned Fast Stop Markets knows you need simple. A one-stop shop for fuel, food, and more offers you Fast Stop Perks, an easy and free rewards program that helps you save on fuel and earn points you can spend like cash. You can also get free items, join clubs, and save big. Get your Fast Stop Perks card at checkout or download the Fast Stop Perks app to start your loyalty rewards today. Fast Stop Markets, keeping you moving.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Tennessee Pro Football Podcast continues here on Main Street Media Television. Terry, I think it's safe to say that most of the splashes, quote unquote, that the Titans are going to do in the free agency period have passed. We'll get into those moves in a minute, but based on what you've seen of all the signings and releases that the Titans have gone through so far, what indication does that give toward the greatest positions of need for draft day?
Well, they've added numbers at certain spots, and they've certainly added a couple of guys that they feel like can be starters in Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler along the offensive line. Elsewhere, it feels more like they've added bodies. I know that they're counting on Draymond Jones to probably be an edge rusher. They're going to count on Cody Barton to be a starting linebacker. There are a couple of other guys that probably will vie for starting positions, but it feels like that a lot of these guys that they brought in have been more of the type of guys that fill the bottom of the roster, so to speak, that provide a little bit of depth. A few starters, some depth, guys who compete for roster spots. But I still think that come the draft, you're going to have to see this team pluck maybe 3 to 4 guys who can be plug-and-play starters.
To me, it feels like the Titans are kind of in the same positions of need that they were at the end of the season. They've, of course, addressed the offensive line. You have to acknowledge that. But at the end of the season, I think if you looked at a few positions of need, edge rusher was obviously one thing the Titans needed going into free agency. You mentioned Draymond Jones. Lorenzo Carter was another edge that they signed. But those guys, kind of like you mentioned, don't really move the needle at that position, especially after Harold Landry was released. Wide receiver still needs some help. And linebacker, as you kind of mentioned with Cody Barton, that group hasn't really improved either.
Yeah, I mean, I think they feel like Barton can give them better play than Kenneth Murray did there. They did not bring back Jack Gibbons. He shockingly went to New England with Mike Vrabel. They've got some other linebackers like Cedric Gray, James Williams that they're hoping will step up. Otis Reese, another guy. But it feels like that's an area that's going to have to be addressed somewhere along the way. Safety is going to have to be addressed. I know, they've added a little bit there, but, I think it was Xavier Woods that they added. And it's one of those deals where a veteran guy who's kind of a stopgap, but they're still going to need some depth at that position. The quarterback room is filling up now with Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle.
The inevitable Tim Boyle.
Added to the mix, along with Will Levis, whom the Titans have emphatically said at the owners' meeting that they've not been contacted about a trade and they are not shopping him around, which is something that I had reported a couple of weeks ago, that they are not actively shopping Will Levis. If somebody came in and blew them away, they probably would move him. But other than that, Will Levis is going to be around. The question is he going to be competing with Cam Ward for that quarterback job next year? So it's interesting. This roster, it feels like that they kind of stripped it down to the studs, so to speak, and now they're trying to build it back slowly. And it looks like it's been maybe a little slower process than a lot of people expected, especially last year when everything was just kind of, okay, let's go spend money here and there and everywhere and put a roster together, and that netted 3 wins. So maybe this is a better approach.
Which side of it is it more, you think, that Will Levis isn't being asked about in trades, or they're not shopping Will Levis in trades?
Well, they've said all along that he would get a chance to compete. I mean, this guy, he was a 2nd-round pick that they traded up to get. So they have, let's put it this way, they have more invested in Will Levis than anybody else. So it behooves them to see Will Levis at least be competent and somewhat successful. If he can be the bridge quarterback until Cam Ward is ready, or if he can play well enough that maybe if you do decide to move on from him at the end of training camp, you get more than a 5th-round pick for him, then there's that. But, I don't think they've given up on Will Levis because he does have a lot of tools and a lot of talent, but they're not handing him the keys to the offense like they did last year when it turned out to be a failure for a lot of reasons, not just Levis, but a lot of reasons.
What's the point of having the 3 quarterbacks? I mean, if you're going to and by all accounts, it really feels like they're going to take Cam Ward at this point. We can talk about why we're going to feel that way here in a minute. But, are we just looking for a practice squad guy? Like, what's the purpose of having a 3rd quarterback?
Well, Brandon Allen is here because, one, he knows the offense. He knows Brian Callahan's offense better than anyone else that was available. Tim Boyle is, a camp arm. But Tim Boyle is also a friend of Will Levis's. They're from the same hometown and the same high school in Connecticut. And Will Levis worked Tim Boyle's football camp for kids last year. So, while it looks like they're still going to draft Cam Ward, the moves they've made almost scream, we're doing everything we can to maximize Will Levis. Do you agree, given those 2 points I just told you?
Well,
Wow.
sure. And here's the reason why I'm assuming is that if Cam Ward goes down in week 1 like Anthony Richardson did, you need somebody who understands your offense and can run it. Now, obviously, Will Levis is not a great option, but if you give him the tools to learn the system with Brandon Allen, giving him all the nuances, right? And then you also give him the confidence by having his buddy Tim Boyle there throughout camp to kind of make him comfortable. It really does feel like a good option for Will Levis to be a backup going into the season behind Cam Ward and ready to step in the event that Cam Ward, maybe were to get hurt or something.
Right. And then there's also the option too that allows you to slow play Cam Ward, because he's the number 1 pick, when the Chiefs took Patrick Mahomes, they sat him for the full year. Mike Borgonzi was there during that.
Yeah, but Alex Smith was a lot better than Will Levis.
But this team's let's not kid ourselves. This team is not going to the Super Bowl this year.
No.
With Cam Ward or Will Levis.
Terry,
Oh.
if Cam Ward is drafted on April 24th and he does not start in week 1, the Tennessee Titans will not have to worry about demolishing Nissan Stadium because Titans fans will burn it down.
Maybe so, but hear me out. The Green Bay Packers, obviously, their way of doing things is different from a lot of other teams. They drafted Jordan Love. He sat for 2.5 years until he got his shot. Now, granted, he was playing behind a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers.
As did Aaron Rodgers.
But that seems to be slow playing the quarterback position is not out of the question if these guys are doing it as the history of the organizations they come from suggests. It's
an interesting point. I think, again, you have to, as we've mentioned, look at the quarterbacks that were in those starting spots. Will Levis would be probably the most attractive of, the 3 quarterbacks that are on roster now. Brandon Allen is 2-8 in his career as a quarterback. Tim Boyle has somehow survived another NFL season. No offense to him, but 5 touchdowns, 13 interceptions in his career.
Tim Boyle is amazing that he is.
He's got some ties
that he has,
to
he has
people
some serious
on the
team.
inside. Is that Tim Boyle has something that for some reason none of us can see, but everyone in the NFL has some interest in, and he's stuck around and made a much more money than I've made in my career, being a pretty mediocre quarterback. But I bring up those stats because if Will Levis can't beat his buddy from his hometown, and he can't beat Brandon Allen, then really it points back to Chris in saying that Cam Ward needs to start on day 1 if Will Levis can't beat out those 2 veterans.
Oh, no doubt. And like I said, I'm not here saying that Will Levis is going to be your opening day starter for the Titans. I think all the signs point to Cam Ward being the opening day's starter for the Titans. But what I'm saying is this, given Mike Borgonzi, where he came from in Kansas City and where Chad Brinker came from in Green Bay, it's not
worth noting.
It's not out of the question that they could slow play Cam Ward if they want to and not start him immediately. But to your point, Chris, yes, the fans would riot if Will Levis is under center on opening day.
I'm not sure that Cam Ward wouldn't riot. I mean, just this guy's attitude and the way that he has carried himself in this pre-draft process has very much been, I'm the guy. Wherever I go, I'm the guy. I'm better than the other guy, and I don't care who the other guy is.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason the Titans are attracted to him is that they come away from their meetings with him very impressed with not just his ability as a football player, but with that presence that he has that you want in a franchise quarterback. Now, that's not to say that he's going to come in and light the world on fire. He may not. He may be like Jaden Daniels. He may be more like Bryce Young and take a little bit of time and struggle. In fact, that's probably a little more likely given what there is around him to work with currently on this Titans roster. But I think Cam Ward exudes the type of persona that you're looking for in a franchise quarterback. And if he can deliver on that in training camp and in the preseason, then obviously he's going to be the starter on day one.
We talked a lot about Cam Ward, kind of the implication, the consensus among us right now, among Titans reporters, is that he would be that number one overall selection. We'll kind of get into the latest on Ward and the Titans in just a second. Our drive to the draft on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast is brought to you by Fast Stop Markets. Hey, check out Fast Stop Markets. Their stores are clean. Their employees are friendly. They've got the best loyalty program in Fast Stop Perks, free and easy to sign up. And you can earn big savings on fuel and in-store purchases. Thank you to Fast Stop Markets for sponsoring our drive to the draft. Terry, tell us the latest on the Titans brass and their meetings with Cam Ward.
Well, last Monday, a week ago today, they went down to his pro day, watched him work out. It was televised by the NFL Network, televised by the ACC Network. Everybody kind of got to see Cam Ward on display. The highlight of it was, he threw a rolled out to his left, set his feet, threw a deep ball, and then looked at Brinker and Borgonzi, who were standing on the sideline watching him, and apparently said, "I'm here to solidify it today." And that meaning that he wants to be the number one overall pick. So I think the Titans, obviously, they've spent a lot of time with Ward since meeting him at the Combine. They had him in for a 30 visit. That went well. They had him, obviously, at the Pro Day. Then on Friday, much of the same people that were in attendance for the Pro Day, that being Brinker, Borgonzi, Dave Ziegler, Reggie McKenzie. From the front office, Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, Bo Hardigree from the coaching staff, all went down with Ward and viewed him, put him through a private workout. That went well, just kind of the next step in the process, so to speak. No red flags. I think they're moving closer and closer to zeroing in on this guy as their guy. The only thing that could change that, like I said before, would be if some quarterback needier team they are came up and offered them a picks bonanza to move into number one. And the Titans, I don't think they can go really past 3 or 4 in terms of where they would pick if they still want one of the other blue chippers that are in this draft. Dropping back, some people have said the Saints might come up from 9. If I'm the Titans, I'm going to require a king's ransom. I'm going to need the Saints number 1 at number 9 this year. I'm going to need a first rounder in 26, and I'm going to need a first rounder in 27 because I'm probably not getting Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at number 9. Maybe I get Shedeur Sanders, maybe I don't, depending on what the Raiders and Jets do at 6 and 7.
Reports indicate that the Titans will be in attendance for Shedeur Sanders' pro day in Colorado, but correct me if I'm wrong, but right, it's a smaller contingency as compared to Cam Ward, right?
Yes. Chad Brinker is not going to go, and I think there was somebody else that's not going to go. But, Callahan's still going to be there. Brinker's still going to be there, those types of things. So it'll be interesting to see. Not only, though, are you looking at Shedeur Sanders at the Colorado Pro Day, you're also looking at Travis Hunter at the Colorado Pro Day. So you get to double dip the chip there in terms of top prospects in this draft because 2 of them are right there on the same campus.
Is that a big deal or a little deal based on your experience, Terry, when you have such a big group come to see one prospect and then to go see another one at the same position, you don't have as much of the brass in attendance? Or does it not matter because you'll have a private workout down the road?
Yeah, I don't think it really matters that much because remember, they got a little bit of a head start on Shedeur Sanders when they got to speak with him at the East-West Shrine game. So they already kind of know him and know a little bit about what he's about. Now, that said, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is on the same par in their eyes as Cam Ward because I think, going all in and visiting Cam Ward, that's either one of 2 things. That's either selling themselves on Cam Ward as the guy they're picking or putting on the greatest show that you possibly can to entice somebody else to trade up for the pick.
Yeah.
So it's one of the two. It's probably the former. So I think with Shedeur Sanders, I think they have to do their due diligence on him simply for the fact that if they do trade out and they still want to draft a quarterback, but also Travis Hunter, I think you have to evaluate what he is. There'll be offensive people and defensive people from the Titans contingent there in order to watch Travis Hunter and to evaluate him both at corner and at receiver. All right, I'm going to throw this out at you guys, and I want your opinion on this because it's not been talked about a lot. It's not been talked about a lot. And the fact that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are teammates, how much do you think one guy might be making the other? And I go back to this, and certainly it's not apples to apples because of the personal problems that Johnny Manziel had. But when we look back on it, Johnny Manziel was a great college playmaker, and it didn't translate to the NFL. But part of the reason Johnny Manziel was a great playmaker was because Mike Evans turned out to be an unbelievable wide receiver who's still doing it big time in the NFL. How much did Travis Hunter make Shedeur Sanders? How much did Shedeur Sanders make Travis Hunter? Floor is yours.
I think I think what I would say in that regard is that it's obvious that both of them are high-level players. I do think Travis Hunter helped Shedeur Sanders more than Shedeur Sanders helped Travis Hunter. I don't know that he necessarily made him anything special, but I do think that Shedeur was elevated to a higher level because of Travis Hunter. And I think he did that both at Jackson State and at Colorado. And that is a gamble that you're going to have to take if you're going to take Shedeur Sanders, which is why, when we started this process, I was not in the Cam Ward camp. I was fully in Travis Hunter camp, and but I guess I may have let people talk me into Cam Ward. I don't know if I have or not, but I feel like that's the way I would go. If I'm going to go quarterback, it's certainly Cam Ward, and that's just because of the unknown based on what you are saying.
Well, I'll say this. Barring some nightmare scenario like Johnny Manziel kind of had with the Browns, Shedeur Sanders is going to have some really good receivers around him, and vice versa for Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's going to have a hopefully, fingers crossed, because of how electric he has been, that he would have a good quarterback to throw him passes. If not, there are a couple of bad quarterbacks in the NFL that are going to throw him interceptions on the other side.
There's somebody put out on X that the Giants need to draft Travis Hunter because Jameis Winston, he can take the good passes and be a receiver and catch touchdowns, and he can take the bad passes and play corner and intercept them.
Great camp. Yeah, I saw that one. Mike Detillier a couple of weeks ago, it was just a few weeks ago, that he thought Travis Hunter was going to be that number one overall selection. The consensus, as of now, has shifted toward Cam Ward and is increasing in momentum. We'll talk a little bit more about that and some uniform news on the other side of our final break here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Stay tuned.
With multiple locations across Tennessee, family-owned Fast Stop Markets knows you need simple. A one-stop shop for fuel, food, and more offers you Fast Stop Perks, an easy and free rewards program that helps you save on fuel and earn points you can spend like cash. You can also get free items, join clubs, and save big. Get your Fast Stop Perks card at checkout or download the Fast Stop Perks app to start your loyalty rewards today. Fast Stop Markets, keeping you moving.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Hadn't forgot that. Hey, let's go Stros.
People are amazed at the variety and quality of guests we bring into Main Street Sports today. But when you've been in this business for nearly 40 years and you never throw away a phone number, it's pretty easy. Right, Wade?
Absolutely. And Wynn agrees with me. Check out some of our guests featured on Main Street Sports today.
Step back and catch my breath.
But I expect nothing less from you, big boy. Let's get going.
We make it work pretty good. So
the fans are tremendous. It's fantastic.
It was really amazing.
They call it performance. Yeah.
From preps to pros, you never know who's going to stop by, so be sure to listen to and watch Main Street Sports today from 2 to 4 p.m. daily on the MSM TV app.
Last stretch here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast, brought to you by Fast Stop Markets. We talked a lot about Cam Ward and his potential of going to the Titans. Let's talk a little bit about the jersey he won't be wearing next season. That's for certain. Tennessee announcing in the last couple of weeks, I think it was last week, that they would be doing away with the throwback Love You Blue Houston Oiler uniforms for at least next season. Chris made it a point that we talk about this this week. So, Chris, I'm going to let you tee off here and give us your thoughts.
Oh, no, I'm less worried about not wearing the Oilers throwbacks, which obviously everyone loves and everyone wants to see. It is weird when they do the whole stadium in a whole different team's name. That's kind of odd, so whatever. But I love the idea of going to the Oiler blue, Titans blue, full-time home uniform. That color to me is the most important thing. And it never made sense, in my opinion, to wear Navy uniforms when that was kind of it's clearly enough of a color that you want to protect that you wouldn't allow teams from Houston to wear it. So why is it not your primary color? It is now going forward, and that will be what the Titans wear on game day and home uniforms. And I personally feel like it's a great choice.
I like the move from the navy blue to the light blue. I agree with you. I don't like the fact that they're mothballing the Oilers uniforms again. I think those are very attractive. And in fact, I put out on X when it happened that they need to just wear the Oilers uniforms all the time with the red face mask, the white helmet, the red trim, the whole 9 yards, but just incorporate the Titans logo on the side of the helmet and go with that, because that's a good, clean look. In fact, if you look back, all those old AFL uniforms, whether it's the Orange Crush of the Broncos, Pat the Patriot, and New England, the Jets with the football on the side of the helmet, the Oilers, those are some of the cleanest, best-looking uniforms in NFL history. Those need to be showcased every week by those teams. Not to mention the Chargers, who do use their light blue uniforms to great and maybe the best-looking uniforms in the league.
To me, it's like you're taking the creamsicle uniforms for Tampa Bay. You brought them back after hiatus and said, nah, we don't want to use those anymore, even though they're a fan favorite. You mentioned Denver's uniforms, the throwback kits. I mean, that'd be like bringing them back after a long hiatus. I mean, we got 2 years of these uniforms, right? Is that all we got? 2 years? Am I mistaken in that? 3 years? Is it two?
Yeah. Two, because right. they wore them for 2 games 2 years ago. They beat the Falcons and then lost to Houston and then lost to Houston again last year.
So we got 3, I guess a 1-2 record for the front office was not good enough. I'd like to see the record in the light blue and the navy blue because it
I've
certainly
been good
works.
the last couple of years, no matter what color uniform they're wearing.
Yeah, I doubt that went into it, but you see my point. I mean, why put all the hubbub into building and throwing this out there here in Nashville, and then just to kind of put it to the wayside, at least temporarily?
Yeah. Look, the only way to do this and to make it right is to bring back the Houston Oiler look full time. Don't worry about doing it this year. Don't worry about doing it next year. Do it for 2027 when you move into the new stadium.
Maybe that's the plan. I mean, maybe Terry
so.
has to.
If so, then go for it. If not, then, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I think that kind of puts a bow on it here. Some big work today.
Sorry about that. The Titans stock report. Whose stock is up, guys?
I'll give Terry's vernacular a stock up here. You said behooving at the start of the show. What was the word you used a second ago?
I don't even know.
There was another one that really piqued my interest there, but it since slipped my mind. Good dictionary words today to kick us off for this week. But that'll wrap us up here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Fast Stop Markets for sponsoring, and we'll see you back here as our draft coverage continues in 2 weeks.